Hey everybody, welcome back. It is that second Wednesday set that I told you about. It is Arctic and Johnnyg2. This is a tough one. This is a lower bracket pairing, and one of these guys is going to be the second overall person eliminated from the tournament, which would be shocking in either case. Both of them were, air quotes, on paper, upset in the first round. Arctic losing unexpectedly to Sadly Cius, and Johnny losing unexpectedly to Gary Oak. Both of these players were expected to win and were considered among the favorites to make a deep run in this tournament, and perhaps one of them still can, but the tournament is going to end with a shocking and disappointing 0-2 for one of these very talented and very promising ADVers here. We have Arctic, the legacy of Zokaru, the new Stall Lord, and we have Johnnyg2, the ladder hero and the perpetual ADV nice guy that everybody likes. I don't think they are overly similar as players, and perhaps that'll add an interesting dynamic to this match. Like I said, lower bracket, this is an elimination match. One of them is going to be out with a shocking 0-2. Who is it going to be? Let's find out together. Here's game one in the best of three. Arctic on the bottom, Johnnyg2 on the top, a meta and a medi, respectively. As Swampert comes in to check the meta, seems standard enough. Meteor Mash there, 28%. And here comes Gengar. Johnny switches back to Medi actually here. But it gets immediately boomed on, so we never do get to see what the Medi wanted to do. It immediately gets popped, and we've got ourselves a 5-5. Smeargle coming down, so this is clearly a significant deviation from the kind of team that Arctic normally uses. This is a hyper offense team for a player very much known for his preference towards stall. And he puts a Gyarados to sleep and begins spiking up as the Swampert reappears. Destiny Bond. Rutrow Raggy. That's going to catch Johnny by surprise and take his Swampert down, which could be a big issue if he's got more physical pokes in the back, such as this T-Tar, which might be Dragon Dance, the meta that he left with, a possible Salamence in the back. I don't think you want to lose Swampert there, and his Gyarados was put to sleep. I think this could get ugly very quickly. Oh boy. And the T-Tar begins DDing up. Does Johnny have a response? That hidden power did nowhere near enough. DD number 2 coming now. He's going to emergency leech seed him, but boy, is that a temporary solution to a pretty big problem. Hidden power, Celebi is no more. Takes him out from 99%. And Gyarados is still asleep, but it does at least still have Intimidate while it sleeps. He's going to desperately try to Leech Seed stall him out here. Here comes the Magneton switch. On Rock Slide, so alright. It will survive, and it'll get some health back via Leech Seed. Maybe it's got Protect for more stalls. Seemingly it does not. Here comes Gyarados for another Intimidate. But it is the right read for Johnny as he blanks Earthquake and gets one step closer to stalling out the T-Tar. Got one more turn. And he's going to leave the Gyarados in. I don't know if I agree with that. I might have sacrificed the Magneton there and tried to wake the Gyarados up later. It was at full health after all. It would be totally fine and still potentially useful if it were to wake up. But Johnny sees it differently. So now the Gyarados is probably in trouble. It does not immediately wake. And it does die to the Ice Beam. That might have been a roll, but even had it survived, the Sand would have finished it off. So now it is Mag Lax for Johnny against 3 from Arctic, one of which is unknown. Meta reappears, and Johnny going to fish for Para, but he does not find it. And the meta does not have leftovers. CB Mence, perhaps? It's a big Earthquake. Very well might be CB Mence. Johnny's going to try again to find Para with Body Slam, but he's going to once again not get it, and he can't really switch here, so I think he's kind of in trouble. Scizor for Arctic. Alright, well that's not what I thought his last might be, but he's got a Scizor and it's got a Lumberry. That's a Pokemon. Magneton coming in. Silver Wind, 25%. Magneton, if it has HP Fire, can insta-cook the Scizor here with the 4x weakness. Gonna sub up and try to block whatever the attack is. Silver Wind last time did enough to pop it, but this time it doesn't, so fair enough. But Johnny seemingly does not have HP Fire, so as long as Silverwind doesn't give him the all-stat raise, which it did not, because it would have made him faster than Magneton, then the Magneton does at least win this 1v1, but I mean, it's 2-2 on paper, but I think Johnny's got some problems here. The CB meta is really going to be an issue. Toxic on Swampert, sure, but like I said, CB meta alone, I think, gets it done here, regardless of the Swampert. We'll see if Johnny can find a way out. He can't even power full power anymore, so I truly don't know what that way would be. He is hoping for some kind of throw. He's hoping that Arctic switched there or randomly refreshed there or something to that effect, but that is not what happens. He clicks EQ, and the sand damage will be enough to finish off the lax, but like I said, even if it hadn't, the CB Gross would have come in, would have clicked boom, and that would be that, so I think Johnny was just too far behind. I think the two turns that crucially went badly in that game were walking the Swampert into the Destiny Bond, which I think a lot of us would have done. That's kind of a sneaky surprise move. It's hard to not attack there. And I question whether letting the Gyarados go on the final turn against the T-Tar was the right play. I might have sacked the Magneton instead, and then maybe he could still get use out of the Gyara, because like I said, it was at 100%, so maybe it wakes up instantly, or it takes one more hit and then it wakes up, whatever. Maybe the Gyara could have gotten something done. I don't know. But that was a tough game. The Medi never really got going, and it felt like Arctic had the tempo from the start. The D-Bond really just made it tough for Johnny immediately. And then he had a Scizor. That very well may be the only Scizor we see for the whole tournament. But hey, it's in the win column. For those of you who like janky BLs, score 1 for Scizor. It didn't really do much of anything, but it was on the winning team. Anyhow, regardless, we move over to Game 2 here. Score 1-0 for Arctic. So if Arctic were to win this game or a Game 3, Johnnyg2, a back-to-back top 6 finisher, top 4 finisher last year. You got 4th place, is going to be shockingly out 0-2. And if Johnny were to win here, it would force a Game 3, and he could try to knock Arctic out. Switch those sides for continuity, put Arctic on the bottom and Johnny on the top. Harry Mama, get it? Female Hariyama on the top. And a Swampert lead, immediate knockoff, so good turn for Johnny there. Swampert immediately without its lefties has got to be a good thing for the non-Swampert player. And here comes a very safe Swampert switch in Suicune. Alrighty, well, very, very early, but I like Johnny's position very, very early on. Surf and Roar, respectively, is going to drag out Salamence, fair enough. See if he respects the possibility of HP Grass. And he does. He switches to Skarmory just in case he tries something like that. Suicune is often, but not always, paired with Magneton, and we'll see if Arctic plays around that. And he super duper doesn't. He just clipped Spike. So if Johnny had a Magneton, he could have gotten him there. No such luck. That Arctic Skarmory has got to be very, very high. Probably something close to max special defense to take a +1 Surf that well. Very well may be a fully defensive Suicune, such as a Boldcoon, against a max special defense or damn close to it Skarmory from Arctic. And it showed Toxic as well. And hey, more BLs in the house. I'm a fan of this one, not so much Scizor, but Articuno I think is an underrated poke. And it's certainly an Arctic type of poke. It really only belongs on stall teams. It doesn't do much of anything on offensive squads, but I think it's quite a good mon. It walls both Celebi and Swampert all day, all night. And yeah, Ice is an okay attacking type, but just overall it's a good mon. The Rock Slide double weakness hurts a lot, but I like Articuno, really and truly. Anyhow, here she is. She might just roar Suicune out here, unless Suicune roars first. No, it's just a Calm Mind. Not sure if I love that, because, okay, never mind, doesn't have roar, it actually has Haze. That works. Articuno learns a couple of useful moves. It gets roar, Haze, Heal Bell, Ice Beam. Yeah, Articuno is like a stall-only mon, but it's really underrated at what it does. I think it It was hurt significantly by the, at this point, years old rest talk changes, but I'm really a believer. I really think that Mon is underappreciated. I tried to build an Articuno team at this point over a year ago and tried to get Jabba to use it, and he refused. He's just not an Articuno guy, but I'm telling you, there's something to it, especially with how popular Celebi is right now. Give Articuno another look, guys and gals. You won't regret it. In the meantime, Drill Peck is really interesting. This looks like a very stally team for Arctic, and Drill Peck Zapdos is almost exclusively on very offensive teams usually. Now, usually it doesn't really matter with Arctic because he's a pretty funky and anything but usual kind of builder. But it's a weird choice. Maybe he just really, really needs padding against fighters in what appears to be a very stally Superman-esque team for Arctic. And it's going to be yet another Pokemon losing its lefties. So Flygon is also knocked off, just as the Swampert was. And here comes Gengar, so it is very much a Superman team. He's got 5 pokes that are immune to spikes here. And I don't know if Johnny brought spikes. His team also seems very, very stally, so we might be in for a grind. But, yeah, this is Arctic 101. This is full stall. This is full defensive everything. And Articuno hasn't shown it yet, but almost certainly has Heal Bell. And probably most or literally everything other than the... Actually, it might be all 6. They might all just have rest. Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me at all if the last 2 on Articuno were Heal Bell rest, and if most or all of these other pokes, even the damn Gengar, had rest for Arctic. He's very much that kind of player. He showed this kind of team last year when he had to go through play-ins. He brought full stall. He brought rest all bulk Gengar and tried to mean look and then grind people out. This is the way the dude plays the game. No one, like I said, has been this dedicated to full-on do-nothing stall since my buddy Zokaru. I mean, Arctic is the new generation stall lord now that Zokaru is old and gray. Here comes Flygon. And Hari's also got rest, so this is a really awkward game. So Johnny does have a Spiker, Fortress, but 5 out of Arctic's 6 don't care. There's no sand from either player, and they both brought really fat, bulky teams. So everything that has lefties actually has lefties. Now, granted, a couple things used to have lefties and got them knocked off. But, like, I don't know, knockoff chip is so much worse when there's no sand to punish. And then, I mean, even if you do slowly chip away, 6% there, 6% there, the sand adds up, I think everything or damn close, either literally everything or damn close to everything on Arctic's team has rest, which, would negate so many turns of just sand damage because you knocked off their lefties. This is a grind and a half. We could easily, there was a survey question asking whether or not a game, and that Zap Cannon miss, even though you go, oh man, it's so unlucky, it probably doesn't matter because I guarantee you on this squad that the Articuno has Heal Bell. But anyway, what I was saying is, there was a survey question asking, will a game go, I think the number was 200 that we used, and by the way, that crit matters, so down goes Mence. It was not really a win condition. We know it wasn't DD Mence, it was some variant of Wish Mence, but still, crit matters. And there's Drill Peck and Soft Boiled. But yeah, there was a survey question asking, does a game go over 200 turns? And we're only on turn 40. Not ready to say that quite yet, but this has potential to be that game. This absolutely has potential to be that game. How does either team kill anything? The only 2 win cons for Johnny are spikes, which matter for dick all in this matchup when 5 of the Pokemon are immune to it, and Suicune, which I think Arctic brought like the Suicune counter of counters. He's got Haze and Rest Articuno, which is going to shut it off for days. Articuno is so good. Why do more people not use it? It beats Suicune, it beats Celebi, it beats Swampert. Those are relevant and really good pokes. Those are all top 10 pokes in ADVOU. Articuno is a real deal. And a lot of the stuff that learns Rock Slide that threatens it, such as Salamence, such as Flygon, such as Aerodactyl, they do not want to eat an Ice Beam. So they've got to be damn careful trying to come into Articuno, because if you get a stray Ice Beam, you are dead. So yeah, the lesson of this, regardless of who wins, is to use Articuno. It is the real deal, guys. It really, truly is one of the most underappreciated and underrated pokes in the tier right now. Not trolling one bit. Legit, people should use Articuno. There's an Ice Punch Freeze, but we know that Johnny has Aromatherapy, so we can make that go away if you'd like. The Gengar has only shown Will-O-Wisp Ice Punch, so it could be Wow Taunt, or it could be Will-O-Wisp Ice Punch, Thunderbolt, Rest, knowing Arctic. The bigger picture issue, and I'll probably have plenty of time to talk about it, because like I said, this game has the potential to go very long. But the bigger picture issue here is I have a very hard time envisioning how Johnny can win the game. His win conditions are twofold. Spikes, which do not matter against a team with 5 immunities, and Suicune is his only other win condition against a team with, like, the dream Suicune counter here in the Articuno. And then he's also got, like, a Zapdos and whatever. This thing presumably is Thunderbolt, whatever. He's got some other stuff, but, like, the Articuno alone can hold off the Suicune forever, and it has pressure, too, if it gets to a PP situation. So Arctic is up a poke, doesn't care about the spikes, and has double pressure versus 1 pressure, and there's no sand in play, so these knockoffs are way less effective than they normally will be. Gengar does have Rest, which only Arctic, but predictable. Man, we'll see. I have so much respect for Johnny and so much faith in Johnny, but, like, I can't envision anybody. It's not a Johnny thing. You could slap in whoever you think the best ADV player is. BKC, Linear, Asta, whoever you want. Slap them into Johnny's shoes here. I don't know that they would be able to win this game. This matchup seems like a nightmare. It's like I hate using this term, because, like, even just like the 99% joking slight implication that someone is cheating, I don't like, but botted is the cool kid term. And obviously Arctic didn't cheat or use a bot, let's be real clear about that, but it's one of those matchups. It's one of those matchups where it feels like Arctic has the team that beats Johnny's team. Now, granted, can you argue that, like, Johnny shouldn't have brought this kind of team into Arctic? I don't know. Like, it's easy to say that, hindsight 2020. It's easy to say that now that you see the matchup and see the result. The matchup is disastrous, and I think it's going to take forever, but I think Arctic is very, very likely to win this game, which would eliminate Johnny not only 0-2, but 0-4 in games, which is just... that feels like something out of an alternate reality. That feels like something that should never happen. But yeah, I mean, should you bring something this passive, and this team is very, very passive for Johnny. It is full-on, all defensive, do nothing other than the Suicune, which kind of plays right into the hands, right into the bread and butter of what Arctic stereotypically brings. So, like, you can question the bring from Johnny, but at the exact same time, if you just swap the Game 1 and Game 2 teams, so let's say that Johnny is playing this team against what Arctic brought in Game 1, the, like, Smeargle hyper offense, and let's say that Johnny has the Medicham team from Game 1 against this team from Arctic, it feels completely different. I think the Medicham team probably smacks this team from Arctic. And I think that this team that Johnny has this game probably has a reasonable matchup against the hyper offense team that Arctic brought last game. So, like, is it a bad bring from Johnny? Or is it bad luck? Is it bad variance? Or some combo of both? Or is it one of those things when you bring this kind of team, you accept that it's going to have very good and very ungood matchups, and just like Arctic in general with the way that he builds and the way that he likes to play is a very polarizing player? What is Drill Peck, Thunderbolt, HP Fighting? Is the last move Rest? What a weird Zapdos. Well, Johnny forced to soft-boiled here a few times. This is an unset. Drill Peck, Thunderbolt, HP Fighting, and presumably Rest as the last move. Yeah, that's a bulky Zapdos to take the Ice Beam that well. Man, this is a team for Arctic. Arctic's given himself multiple opportunities here to kill the Bliss with a crit, but hasn't found one just yet. And Johnny doesn't really have a fantastic switch. The Claydol is relatively safe here. Immune to Thunderbolt, very much resisting HP Fighting. Drill Peck would do an okay chunk, but the Claydol is an okay option here. You see how little that Articuno took from the Ice Beam there, just 12% from neutral Ice Beam. Very specially bulky, that guy. Or girl, it's genderless. Articuno, I don't know. Usually, like I could see genders for like the legendary beasts, right? I think like Raikou and Entei have always struck me as dudes, and Suicune has struck me as a chick. Zapdos is obviously a dude, gotta be. Moltres, I could see either way, but I'll go with female. Articuno, though. I don't know. I could see the argument either way. I really can. I lean male, but I can respect either way for Articuno. It's a tough one. I talk about this, and I go down this irrelevant conversation path because, like I said, I think we're in for a long one here, and I very well may speed this up at some point, but I'm having a really hard time envisioning how Johnny wins. We know the full set of the Hariyama here, knockoff Rest, Brick Break, Whirlwind, so it is very clearly not a win condition here. It's not a CM Bliss. We know the full set here as well. Soft Boiled Aromatherapy, Seismic Toss, Ice Beam. Claydol's never a win condition, but we don't know the set. And then same thing, Fori is never a win condition, but we don't know the full set. The Salamence was not a DD-Mence. It was some kind of Wish-Mence, so like Wish, Rock Slide, whatever, Flamethrower, Dragon Claw, or something to that effect. But it's dead, and it wouldn't have been a win condition anyway. So it's really just the Suicune, and Suicune is a valid win condition, generally speaking. It definitely counts towards win cons when you are building and evaluating your team and going through the what does my team need checkbox. But in this particular matchup where there is no sand and it's a full special bulk Haze Rest Articuno, Suicune can't ever break through that. I mean, Suicune doesn't have Ice Beam, but even if it did, it can't freeze Articuno. The Surfs don't do enough. Even crits don't do enough. There's no sand to help you get there. Articuno can absolutely stall you out of Surfs with Rest and Pressure. And then even if you somehow get a boost or two in front of some other Pokemon that isn't Articuno, it could just haze it away. Man, I hate watching it. I really do. This has got to be miserable to play and to play against. Johnny's already down a game. If he were to forfeit here, which I'm sure he wants to, he would just be out of the tournament with a stunning 0-4 game record that nobody ever would have predicted. But what can you do here? This feels so hopeless, and in real time playing this, it must have... I could just see Johnny at the keyboard. He's just the nicest, politest, non-raging. Johnny's such a good dude. And I could just see him at the keyboard just pounding the computer desk and just snorting and just fucking getting progressively more and more red in the face as he sits here and just goes, this is such horseshit. Playing against this sucks. This team is so lame. It's so matchup swingy, and of course I don't have the right thing. This team is so do nothing. I'm going to lose, but it's going to take 200 turns. It must be so frustrating. But I don't see a way out. Like, there's not even... If you want me to get into, like, hypotheticals that could actually happen, I guess the way out for Johnny is that he would have to catch the Articuno with a knockoff, which in and of itself, I think Arctic is never going to let happen, but just bear with me for the hypotheticals. Johnny would have to catch the Articuno with a knockoff, and then some combination of paralyzing it with Zap Cannon or Arctic choking and allowing the Coon to get, 2-3 boosts or something, and then you just get there. You just crit it. So, like, you knock it off, and then you start boosting up the Coon. You fling a Surf at it before it can haze you. And you just get there. You just find a crit or two. Or you para the thing with Zap Cannon, and you hit it 3 turns in a row, and it full powers the whole time. But none of that matters unless he can land a knockoff on it, and Arctic is just never, ever, ever going to let that happen. I mean, anybody can choke. We've seen it a million times. Nobody plays perfectly. Chokes happen, but even just now, a couple turns ago, there was an opportunity for Johnny. He knocked it off instead, but if he had brick breaked against the Flygon, he had a chance to crit it and kill it there, so like little stuff like that can kind of sort of get him back into the game slowly. The Flygon is not even that important in this matchup, but it obviously would never be a bad thing to kill it. Man, I mean, we're in the same position that we've been in for, I don't remember what turn the Salamence died, but like almost literally 100 turns. We're basically in the same game state as we were about 100 turns ago. Yeah, this is going to take a minute, but I just don't know how Johnny wins this without major, major chokes from Arctic. Like I said, knockoff on Articuno going to be required because the only win condition is the Suicune, and the Articuno walls it all day. And Arctic is just never going to allow knockoff to happen on Articuno. Maybe if Johnny could start making predictions, like I said, if the Flygon is going to start coming in to the knockoffs, since it's already been knocked off, maybe you could take those opportunities, get them with Brick Break or whatever. But now that we know the full Hariyama set, and Whirlwind is pretty damn unexciting in this matchup. I like Whirlwind Hari. Knockoff Whirlwind is cool synergy on Hari because turn 1 you just knock off against like anything, and if you're against a Zapdos, for example, and it goes Substitute on turn 1 and blocks your knockoff, well, that's fine because now you just Whirlwind it away. Whether it keeps it or whether it passes it, you just get rid of the Substitute by clicking Whirlwind. And then obviously with this being a Spikes team from Johnny, you've got that synergy as well. So I generally like Whirlwind on Hariyama. But in this particular matchup, it's really bad. It's almost useless. In this particular matchup, had it hypothetically been, say, Rock Slide Hariyama instead, then that could have been good, since there are a couple of rock weaknesses that matter on Arctic's team. But yeah, it just feels wrong set, wrong team, wrong time. It feels like Johnny just does not have the right team, does not have the right tools to break through this. He showed Shadow Ball there. Obviously, the intended target for that, the ideal target for that would be the Gengar. That would be yet another way for Arctic to potentially choke. He lets the Gengar come in. It eats a Shadow Ball. You crit it, whatever. Hey, something's down. Okay, that opens up the path for Hari now, because now everything either needs to get knocked off or Hari has to... Flygon, the only other thing that has been knocked off, has to risk getting crit by Brick Break, etc. It's all a domino effect. If Johnny can kill one thing, the Skarm probably doesn't matter as much at this point, but I mean, maybe it does. I mean, Johnny has a spinner. But yeah, if Johnny could kill one thing, then he can at least have some kind of direction. He can at least have a game plan, depending on what he kills. If he can land a crit Shadow Ball and kill the Gar, if he can land a crit Brick Break and kill the Flygon, if he can land a knock on the Articuno, he needs something, and Arctic is just giving him nothing. Arctic is just not budging at all. Johnny in the past, I mean, it's literal at this point because it's been over 100 turns since the Salamence died, but Johnny in the past 100+ turns has made, I think, zero meaningful progress whatsoever. We can do a quick health check here. The Swampert doesn't have lefties, so every time it comes in on spikes, they add up, but of course, it just has rest, just like literally everything else on the team. We haven't seen the Flygon in quite a while. Maybe the Flygon doesn't have rest since it's sporting Protect, and that would mean it has no phasing move, but knowing Arctic, it'll have both, because that's the way that the dude rolls. We know the Articuno set, and it's at full health. Zapdos is at about half, but I would be confident betting cash money that the last move is just going to be rest. The Flygon has rest, and the Gengar hasn't shown the last move, probably just Thunderbolt, but that is healthy as well. So Johnny has not knocked a single thing off that wasn't already knocked off, and Johnny has not put any meaningful damage on anything. Suicune coming in here, Thunderbolt on Kun here would basically end the game, and I doubt Johnny's going to allow it. Just kidding, Johnny's going to allow it. The last move must not be Thunderbolt, and I'm not sure what it would be then. Is it Boom? Is it Fire Punch? Is it HP Grass? I'm not clear, but I feel like if it were Thunderbolt, he would have gone for it there, and the game would have been over. You Thunderbolt the Kun dies, Johnny can't win anymore, and we pack it up, pack it in. But it must not be Thunderbolt if he didn't click it there. But yeah, I hope I've managed to entertain you in what is a less than entertaining game. And like I said, this must be miserable to play in real time. I can't imagine how long this took in real time. I wasn't able to catch it live, but I can only imagine. But yeah, it really, I still, pending chokes from Johnny, pending something happening, or chokes from Arctic rather, chokes for Johnny from Arctic, pending something happening that isn't supposed to happen, I just don't see it. Right there on that last turn, for example, was a hypothetical opportunity, so if he had kept the Harian and not switched to Suicune there, if he had clicked Brick Break, and then he crits the Flygon, that would have been a chance to kill it, and then maybe that opens up some kind of door, but Brick Break, maybe. Alright. A crit wouldn't have been enough last turn, but now it's in a position where a future Brick Break crit on the way in would kill the Flygon. So a small opening, but so many things have to go right for Johnny. And it's not like if he Brick Break crits the Flygon, it's not like, oh, the game has turned around. Johnny is ahead now. He's got him. No. It just makes a very small opening ever so slightly less small, but it would still heavily be in Arctic's favor. Shadow Ball there, even with a crit, wouldn't have been enough. If the Zapdos is non-rest, then it all matters. But there you go. To the surprise of no one, that has rest too. 'Cause of course it does. What a team for Arctic. Does the Skarm have it too? It showed Spike's Toxic Protect. Is the last move rest even though it is Protect? Are we saying fuck a phasing move? I'm going Protect plus rest? It would not surprise me. It really wouldn't from Arctic. And Johnny, who usually doesn't say much of anything and is a very nice, polite guy, finally on turn 166 says something. He says, the sad part my first team destroyed this, which I'm inclined to agree with, by the way. But Johnny's not like that. He never says anything. So the fact that he's saying that and that he's waiting 166 turns to say that, he's got to be frustrated. He must be. And how could you not be playing against this? Not only is it taking forever, not only must it feel hopeless, but it's just such a lame team from Arctic. And don't get me wrong, I mean, it doesn't matter if it's lame or not. This tournament is about winning. If it's legal and within the rules, which obviously this absolutely 100% is, and it's going to lead to winning, which it looks like this will, then you should use it. Period. Not hating on it. It just can't be fun to play against. When I say lame, I mean lame. I don't mean bad. I don't mean unviable. I don't mean it won't win. I mean that it's lame. And it is lame. Johnny, I think, is having a miserable time right now. And Arctic, obviously, in no rush, because if this team is going to win, it is always going to take forever. But hey, that's, again, if it's legal and if it's within the limits and the rules of the format and the tournament, which it is, then it's fair game. And hey, if something you're doing within the game that's perfectly legal frustrates, tilts, aggravates your opponent in any way, throws them off their game, that's got to be good for you, right? More power to you, man. We're still in the exact same 5-6 game state that we have been in for 150 turns or whatever it's been now. I feel very confident that unless Johnny frustration forfeits here, that 200 game survey question, we can go ahead and put a little check mark in that box. I think this is the one. I think we're going 200 plus. This very well may end up being the longest game of CALLOUS Invitational. I don't know about the longest in any CALLOUS Invitational in history. I vividly remember an HCLAT game several CALLOUS Invitations ago, I believe in the first round, that went over 400 turns. Jabba had to narrate that one. I think that video is still on YouTube somewhere if you want to check that out and enjoy his hour-long misery of 400 plus turns. I don't know that we're quite going that level of grindy, but I mean, even where we are right now is still way, way, way beyond the typical turn length of the vast, vast, vast majority of ADVOU games. 200 in ADV is a very, very long game, and like I said, pending a frustration forfeit, I think we're all but certainly headed there. I can't see how either player can win the game the old-fashioned way in the next 10 turns. So I think that's where we're going. I think we're going 200 plus. Here comes Flygon. That right there was an opportunity. Johnny did not click Brick Break, but had he Brick Breaked and had it crit, it would have killed the Flygon. Shoulda, coulda, woulda. Didn't do it. Here's the rest. PP is absolutely, if this really truly plays out to the end and there's no concession, PP is going to become a factor here. Johnny does have a pressure mon, but more importantly, Arctic has 2 pressure mons, and he's got one more mon as a whole than Johnny does. Additionally, Arctic's whole team has rest, so that's really good at winning PP wars, whereas I think only the 2 pokes for Johnny, the Suicune and the Hariyama, have rest. So if it comes down to PP, Arctic will win very handily. Johnny misses an opportunity there as well. Had he Shadow Balled, maybe a crit, but I don't even think it would be enough because the Gengar, just like everything else on the team, is full bulk. I don't think there is... maybe the Zapdos has some level of offensive investment, but there very well may be little or zero offensive investment. Okay, so a crit would have killed with Shadow Ball there. Ooh, last move, Destiny Bond. Hey, we finally turned 201. Have another knockout. Okay, well, progress has been made. Gengar and Claydol are both down, so if the 4E does not have Rapid Spin, which is TBD, then any spikes that Johnny sets up, or sorry, that Arctic sets up, will not be able to be removed by Johnny, which is actually hugely relevant because the 2 pokes that are immune are down. All 4 of the living remaining pokes for Johnny are all weak to spikes. So if the 4E doesn't have spin, which I would speculate that it doesn't, it's not a very good spinner without Pursuit Tar, which Johnny doesn't have. And then why would you bring Claydol if 4E is just going to spin anyway? I mean, I guess you could double spinner, but it doesn't make a lot of sense to me. But I think that very likely the 4E does not have rapid spin, and this game, fortunately for the viewers and for my sanity, probably just got a lot faster because I think those spikes are not removable by Johnny and are going to speed things up in a big way. He did only get 2 layers down rather than 3, but it all adds up, and I think this is going to start to move faster. And now, even more so than before, it's very hard to envision Arctic not winning this game. I think it is all but an inevitability at this point. Even now, what switches into Earthquake? Not much, right? Suicune coming on, and 24% Earthquake is whatever, but it's all starting to add up. I don't see the way out. I don't see the way out through damage. I don't see the way out through PP. I don't see the way out even really through choke anymore. I don't even know. I don't even know that Hari can knock off the Articuno anymore. It's too little too late. Here's your matchup, but like Articuno could just click Ice Beam and kill you at this point. Back to Zapdos anyway, just on the off chance that it's thick, fat Hari that survives at 1% and knocks you off. He's being that safe with it. And if he's that paranoid about it to the point where he's making that play, it should be very clear that he's never, ever, ever going to get his Articuno knocked off. He's just not. So yeah, 215 turns in and counting. But unfortunately for Johnny fans, and I myself am a Johnny fan, I've got the same news report for you that I had 200 turns ago, which is I don't think Johnny can win this game. And if that is the case, which I'm starting to really see the writing on the wall, I really think Arctic will take this. But if that's how it plays out, if Arctic were to win this game, then it would be an 0-2 in matches and an 0-4 in games for Johnny, which is shocking. He is absolutely one of the best and most consistent ADVers. He's had 2 back-to-back. He's had very good tours in a row. It would be a shocking, shocking outcome and exit for one of the best in the tier, one of the best in the game. But that's the game we play, and that sure as hell is what it's looking like right now. We're going through the motions, and Johnny has the patience of a saint to grind this out, knowing the whole time that his chances to win are very, very slim. But he cares. He wants to do well in this tournament. It matters to him. I love Johnny. He's such a good guy. But man, not his day and not his tour, seemingly. Zap Cannon, not on Flygon. EQ, 26%. Counter. Hey! Man, it doesn't even kill. Fortress is too bulky, and the Flygon has like no attack investment. Normally, that counter would kill him there. Wow. And he actually could have killed him there had he just clicked counter again, but it just doesn't matter at this point. Those spikes, a big, big issue for everybody here. Blissey will die to another Earthquake as well. Nothing preventing Arctic from spamming that. Uh-oh. Seeing the GGs from Johnny. He knows. 229 turns in. Is that where we're finally going to end? He's not conceding. Yeah, I mean, he said GGs, but he's clicking rest. He's still playing, apparently. I mean, he's known for a while how dire this is, but hasn't been ready to actually concede up until seemingly right about now. But GG's usually a sign that you're going to concede and pack it in. I guess Johnny's going to give it one more go, but you'll see if he surfs here how little it does. And the Articuno outspeeds it too. Or I guess it doesn't on that turn because of Roar. Articuno can outspeed it, but it doesn't even matter. +1 surf. I hope he does it here, just to really rub in how hopeless this is. There you go, heel bell. Give me a surf. Nope, just roar. The point is, even the +1 surfs do very, very little. Here's a second Calm Mind. Show us, Johnny. Calm Mind number 3. Isn't that just going to get hazed away? Calm Mind again. Calm Mind again. Yeah, I don't know what the plan is here. I don't know if he's trying to PP stall him out, but it's not going to happen. Actually, Surf there would have killed Flygon, but swing and a miss. Just going to get hazed again. Man. Well, I thought that there was a very, very small chance. It was always very small, but I thought that there was a more than 0 chance earlier for Johnny if certain chokes had happened, if certain crits had happened, whatever. But I think it's not even possible anymore. I don't think that Johnny can win this game basically no matter what at this point. And he agrees. On turn 245, he says, yeah, this is pointless, best of luck, and then he finally concedes to Arctic. Look, man, I'm happy for Arctic. He won it fair and square. He had a cool team. I can't help with watching this, but feel bad for Johnny. Not only is he such a good guy and puts in such a high amount of effort and is obviously going to be disappointed by his 0-2 performance, but furthermore, playing this particular game with this specific matchup against this specific team, this must have been a miserable experience. This must have taken an hour in real life, and it must have been a frustrating, tedious, hopeless feeling, miserable hour, and that stinks. Man, Johnny out 0-2 and with an 0-4 game count is very unexpected. But it shows you, especially if you watched, and I don't want to give spoilers, but if you watched the other series from this round earlier that was in the lower bracket, that was also a shocking elimination. Really, really good, really accomplished players can and do go 0-2 in this tournament sometimes. It's brutal. Arctic was very creative with his team. Whether this is a good team or not, objectively, is a discussion for another day. But it was creative. It caught Johnny apparently off guard, and it was exactly what he needed for the matchup. This was, I don't want to pull a number out of my rear, but it felt like an overwhelmingly favorable matchup for Arctic, and it felt like if they played this matchup 50 times that Arctic would win a very large number of those games. That's tough, but this has been a very long video, longer than expected. For the few of you who are still with me at the end, I appreciate you seeing this through. It's been a grind, but that's the way the cookie crumbles, and the outcome is Arctic 2, Johnny 0. Arctic continues on in the tournament in the lower bracket, and Johnnyg2 has been eliminated. I hope you guys enjoyed watching, even though this second game here was probably not the most entertaining thing you've ever seen. And I hope you guys stay tuned for more CALLOUS Invitational 7 content. I will see you in the next video.